Hey everybody, my name's Paul Valley. This is Adam Rothgeb, and we are trying to do a Ravens podcast here, a Baltimore football podcast, since we're not actually associated with the Ravens. And we're going to call this the Football Frenzy. We're going to try and do this every week between games, and then we'll probably have a segment in each show called the playoff push, where we'll talk about the AFC North, and then once we get closer to the playoffs, we'll talk about other teams that are vying for playoff spots, whether they're in front of the Ravens, they're behind the Ravens, but catching up. So just, going to talk some Ravens football here, and something that we both love and have a passion for, and he's really knowledgeable about the game and the team itself. So something we've been talking about for a while, and we decided to finally do it. So without any further delay, we're going to talk about it. Last week, Ravens had a big game against the Miami Dolphins. They won 59-10. Lamar Jackson had his coming out party, 17-20. 324 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Perfect quarterback rating. RG3 even came in the game, 6 of 6.
6 for 6, that's right.
55 yards, a touchdown. Both quarterbacks combined for a perfect quarterback rating, 6 touchdowns, no picks. What are your thoughts on that game? What did you see? What are you looking forward to from the offense moving forward?
As far as this game was concerned, it was very exciting for everybody. A lot of people had their questions, their doubts about, whether Lamar is going to be that accurate passer we need him to be. Me and you have had that very discussion all through last year when he started, through the off season, and to see him now, everybody's going to say, well, it was against Miami, Miami.
Right.
And we all know that Miami is a below average team, to say the least.
That's being generous.
There's talk of pure mutiny and people wanting to get traded out. But with all that said, Lamar put passes on a dime in the exact places that you needed him to put them on.
Right.
And you're talking about pure accuracy, 17 of 20. You're talking 85% completion percentage there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care what kind of defense you're going against, you still have to make the right reads, make the right throws, make the proper touch on your passes for each throw. And he did it almost flawlessly for the entire game. Only sacked one time. Offensive line looked really good. You're talking about a guy who rushed, an average of 14 times a game last year. He rushed the ball 3 times.
For 6 yards.
3 rushes, and one of them was a 4-yard rush, and that was it.
And what I liked about the game plan, what you saw from him last year, there were a bunch of times where, there were a couple times where he stood in that pocket and he waited for somebody to get open. And, credit to the offensive line, they gave him the time to do that. But last year, if he doesn't have his first read or second read, he's taking off and running. This year, that didn't happen so far.
That's right. Now, obviously, one game, the first game of the season, obviously the most difficult to judge for any team coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows what everybody did last year, but everybody's got new goals. Everybody's got new offenses, new offensive coordinators, just like we do. So everything's wide open that first week. Everybody played it close to the vest in the preseason. A lot of teams didn't even play their starters for most of the preseason. So that first game really shells out what are we going to try to do? What are we trying to push this year? And the Ravens are trying to push the ball down the field. Mm-hmm. Marquise Brown, Miles Boykin, another year with Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst. You're talking about all kinds of, Mark Ingram being in the backfield, a severe upgrade to Gus Edwards. As much as I like Gus, Mark Ingram is a true professional and one hell of a good running back. And he showed that over his 9 seasons in the NFL so far, and he's going to continue to do that for us.
Well, and you mentioned those 2 running backs in particular, and Gus Edwards led the team in touches as a running back. No running backs other than Patrick Ricard with that 1-yard touchdown catch.
Yes.
Called a pass in that game. So Gus Edwards had 17 carries, and he led the team in carries. And Mark Ingram had 14 carries, 107 yards. Yes. He was the horse in the game. But I think that we're going to see a big combination. They're going to keep all 3 running backs fresh by giving them all equal parts. Instead of having one guy carry the ball 25 times, you might see 15 carries from 2 different guys and 10 from another.
Exactly. And that that's the way to keep it going. Everybody can get a taste. Everybody can feel good about themselves. You said it. Mark Ingram with 14 carries. Gus Edwards with 17. Justice Hill, seven carries.
Mm-hmm.
Gets himself a little bit of touch. He averaged 3.9 on average. For his first game as a rookie, a 3.9 yard average. You want that 4 yard average, that benchmark that everybody's looking for. So his first game, getting that 3.9 average, really gives him a little bit of, encouragement. Hey, I belong here. And to keep everybody fresh the way we can, to have 3 solid running backs and not have any of them catch any passes other than Ricard, it's just another element that we have that nobody has seen just yet after one game.
Well, and having those guys in there, you mentioned the 3.9 yards per carry from Justice Hill. Maybe you want to see a little bit more. But Justice Hill, at this point, to begin his career, he's one of those guys that when a defense sees him in the backfield, they know he's getting the ball, which is going to, limit his yards per carry because you can hone in on the fact that he's going to touch the ball in one way or another. Otherwise, he's not going to be on the field, right? So that's probably you can give him a little bit of leeway at 3.9 yards. If he still it's one of those things, if he touches it 3 straight times, he's getting that first down. So you can accept that and hope to see that number go up when we get later in the season.
Yes, exponentially. And, as time goes on, Greg Roman will keep it fresh. He'll keep everybody guessing. You'll see Justice Hill in, and he won't even come close to touching the ball. He'll come in and he'll pass block. He's good at picking up the blitz for a small guy, but he's very stout. Comes in at over 200 pounds. He's a thick kid with a lot of strength. He'll be in there. He'll be doing some extra things that they're not expecting. Gus Edwards got a lot of carries inside the 10-yard line, which we all expected coming into the season, but Mark Ingram was the one with the 2 touchdowns. You move on from the running backs and you start delving into what we did passing-wise. Now, the accuracy of Lamar Jackson included a lot of different players. Obviously the big one down the field, the Hollywood Brown, was phenomenal. I mean,
right.
You couldn't have put it on a tee any better.
Yeah, flick the wrist through the ball 60 yards.
And, you saw his accuracy when given time and going through his progressions properly, hitting him in stride, which is what you have to do with a guy with the speed of Hollywood Brown, who coincidentally this week said, I can play faster.
And it looked like he can play faster.
Which is a scary aspect of the fact that this is a guy who is probably 4.2 speed in the 40. So you're looking at somebody who could probably run 22, 23 miles an hour. And he clocked in at about 20.3 for that 83-yarder. So you're talking about exponentially more speed out of him. Mark Andrews, steady Eddie. 8 targets, 8 receptions. Over 100 yards, exactly what you want out of your tight end. Hayden Hurst popped a little bit this past week. Willie Snead had a nice touchdown grab. Another beautiful throw by Lamar after getting the perfect read and finding the open guy. It just boiled down to what was probably the most perfect offensive performance the Baltimore Ravens may have ever put together in their history.
Oh, absolutely. They scored a franchise record 59 points. Lamar Jackson, youngest quarterback in history with a perfect quarterback rating. AFC Offensive Player of the Week this past week for that performance. So really solid performance all the way around on offense.
Yes.
Now we could spend this entire show talking about the offense.
Yes, we
right?
could.
So how about that defense? The defense, they had 3 sacks, 12 quarterback hits. They held the Dolphins. Now again, it's the Dolphins.
Yes.
But they held the Dolphins to 200 yards of total offense. However, Jimmy Smith got hurt. Luckily, it's just a grade 2 MCL strain. He's going to miss probably 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks. But they got lucky because he'll be back.
Yes.
But right now they're missing 2 of their top 3 corners.
They are. And, Marlon Humphrey had a back, so he's been a little limited this past week in practice. It's concerning now, especially with the opponent we have coming up this week and what they like to do, which we will get into here in a minute. But, they're just recently, you had a corner from Miami who they were given permission to seek a trade. Now, you're talking about a slot corner, which is exactly what we pretty much need, in my opinion. You got Anthony Averett trying to play a slot, or he's filling in on the outside. Brandon Carr is a better outside guy. And obviously, we have Marlon Humphrey, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the top 5 corners in all of football right now. So you've got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who just liked the Ravens on Twitter and Instagram, following some of their players now. Small possibility you might get a bite. He's got a very low cost as far as cap hits coming up. Something I wouldn't mind playing around with. But as a whole, as a defense, we saw some very positive things. You know, Peanut was flying around. He was all over the ball. You know, he had a sack. He had a tackle for loss. He had a pass defense. He had 2 quarterback hits. You're talking about Matthew Judon, who only 3 total tackles, but he got to the quarterback. He got his sack. He had 2 quarterback hits. He had 2 tackles for loss. You're talking about some good pressure up the middle. Pernell McPhee, a guy who you use a little sparingly because of his age and his injury history with his knees.
Mm-hmm.
Let him get after the quarterback. Let him do that, and he did. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. It's exactly what this front 7 needs, is to get pressure. You don't necessarily need to sack the quarterback, because the New England Patriots prove that every year. But as long as you're getting pressure and getting those quarterback hits, you're going to make a defense that much better on the back end when you're doing that.
Right. And when you're going up against now a Cardinals team that has a young and mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray, again, he's played 1 NFL game. Even if you're not sacking him, you're hurrying him, you're getting those quarterback hits, you're getting in his mind.
Yes.
That's gonna alter his game. We've seen it. The Ravens have a long history of taking rookie quarterbacks and welcoming them to the NFL in a very unfriendly manner. We saw them do it to Eli Manning.
Yes.
In his first year, in his first start. And oh my God, I felt so bad for him. One of the few times you'll ever hear me sympathize for Eli Manning. His first NFL start is against the Baltimore Ravens, and it absolutely gets annihilated. And
pretty.
Ravens have a history of doing this to young quarterbacks.
Yes, they do. Now he's a different quarterback, and I will say that. A very polished quarterback coming out of college. He's been born and bred to do this, literally since he was a little kid. You know, so his slow start last week, only 9 completions in the first 25 attempts through 3 quarters. I mean, it looked bad.
Right.
I mean, he looked like, what am I doing here? Shouldn't I be playing baseball, which is a lot easier than doing this? But to sit there and make the progression and then find your rhythm in a 4th quarter, score 18 points, come back and tie the game, force overtime, make some big time throws, finding the ageless wonder in Larry Fitzgerald for a big 49-yard completion. You know, and he did everything right in the 4th quarter. So what is he? Is he the first 3 quarters quarterback, or is he that 4th quarter quarterback? Or is he somewhere in the middle right now?
Probably somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in that middle. And he sacked 5 times, so the Detroit Lions did a lot to pressure him, force mistakes, force errant throws. You know, and the biggest thing that I saw out of this offense, with 54 pass attempts, every single pass attempt, all 54, out of the shotgun. Never lined up under center. Not one time did he line up under center with 54 pass attempts.
That's an insane number. 54 pass attempts, and that's pass attempts. That doesn't even include the 5 times he got sacked.
Exactly.
No dropbacks. All shotgun.
All shotgun.
That's incredible.
And out of those 54 attempts, out of 51 were with a 4 wide receiver set. So you're looking at 4 receivers on the field, out of the shotgun. You're totally spread. You're looking to do damage down the field. And that's exactly what this Cliff Kingsbury offense is all about. Damage down the field. Chunk yards. Tempo, quick. Let's keep it going. Let's force the defense into mistakes. Let's keep them in a baseline defense and force them to have to keep up with us. They just didn't find it that first 3 quarters, but they found it big time in that 4th quarter, which is a scary proposition. And for as mobile as he was, he only ran the ball 3 times last week.
Right.
Only 13 yards. So he kept something a little hidden in his back pocket, in his arsenal, that says, hey guys, I can still run around a little bit too. Now, being his first start, he probably said to himself, I'm not going to try to go get hit yet. So we'll see where he progresses going into it, but the offense themselves is a scary proposition of what they have to offer towards us, especially with corners that are hurting or out.
And you mentioned the quick hits. No tight ends on the field for not over 90% of the plays.
Yes.
Over 95% of the plays, really. Is there something to be said for a young quarterback where you want him to get those quick hits, those quick reads, get the ball out of his hands as quickly as possible, doesn't have as much time for somebody to get after him and hit him, and also doesn't have too much time to get in his own head and think too much about what he's doing, just play your game and get the ball out?
It is. I would think they would definitely want to get the ball out quickly and keep that tempo moving. It's all about tempo with this offense. Now they do want to take chunk plays. They do want to take down. I mean, that's why you got 4 wide receivers on the field at one time, all the time, and probably one of the best pass catching running backs in the NFL, and David Johnson behind him as well. So they're going to try to establish some quick rhythm, especially the game coming up. Quick rhythm. Get him comfortable. Get him completing passes. Make him feel good about himself, especially in a hostile environment, which I'm expecting M&T should be packed this Sunday.
Yeah.
It should be packed this Sunday.
It should be loud.
They're going to be putting severe pressure on him as far as noise is concerned, as far as being on the road for the first time. So they're going to do their best to get a rhythm going early and then try to make that keep going, keep it up, keep that tempo, make us tired quick.
Mm-hmm.
Make us tired very quick because they know what our situation is. They know what we're good at. But as far as I can see, we do have an advantage here, being it is a rookie quarterback, being we're at home opener, everybody's jacked up about this offense coming in, and our defense is no slouch in their own right. So I'm excited to see what we're going to do against them.
Well, right, and Ravens after 1 week of football, number 1 in offense, number 1 in defense. So it beats the alternative, right?
Yeah, that's I don't want to be number 1 in defense and number 27 in offense anymore. I'm tired of that.
Yeah, me too. Now they have David Johnson. This is an all-world running back. Yes. He's had a couple of injuries in his career, which has kind of slowed his career a little bit. But when this guy is healthy, he's as good as they come. He had 24 touches, 137 yards last week against the Lions. Had 55 yards receiving and a touchdown. No rushing touchdowns, but still had over 4 yards a carry. Yes. And I think it was 17, 18 carries, 82 yards.
18 carries.
And
so, yeah.
This is the guy to hone in on. How do the Ravens stop him? How do they at least limit him on Sunday?
Well, this is where I think our offseason proved to be beneficial to us. You lose a C.J. Mosley. Great sideline linebacker, stuffing the run, coming up, forcing pressure. You lose him, and you make yourselves better in a passing game. And this is a prime example of what we needed to do with this game coming up, with David Johnson's in mind, the Le'Veon Bell's in mind, running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. C.J. Mosley, as we all know, could not cover. Running backs out of the backfield, tight ends. David Johnson against Peanut, against Kenny Young, against Chris Board, their speed, their quickness, their ability to cover him out of the backfield is going to help us contain him. Now, you're probably not going to stop him, but it will help limit him. He's not going to break free. He's not going to get loose, and that's what we're trying to keep it minimal. Try to keep him down as much as possible because he is dangerous, and this is a whole other year removed from that ACL that he suffered 2 years ago.
Right. Which
means he's just that much healthier, and he's that much more dangerous, whether it be running or it be catching the ball out of the backfield, and that's what we need to. He's our number 1 focus on offense, problem-wise, other than Kyler Murray throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm. I would tend to agree with you. I think that's the guy that the Ravens need to focus on stopping this week. Larry Fitzgerald, you mentioned, he's an ageless wonder. 5 times undefeated, but so far Larry Fitzgerald's doing a great job fending him off. 8 catches,
113 yards.
113 yards last year. He had that game-tying touchdown late in the game. Larry Fitzgerald is a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Probably going to have Marlon Humphrey covering him.
Yes.
I would imagine. I think Humphrey's faster, but that veteran savvy that Fitzgerald has, he knows how to run a route tree. Mm-hmm. He knows how to get open. This guy could be a big factor. He could have 5-6 catches, and this is another guy where it's not do you stop him, it's how do you limit him.
Exactly, and this is where I say having Earl Thomas on that back end can help us out. He's seen Larry Fitzgerald his entire career playing in Seattle twice a year, every year, and he can give Marlon and the rest of the defense some tips and tricks about what Larry Fitzgerald likes to do. What is his go-to? What is his move that really separates him, and what to look for and what to operate against. Now, obviously, it's about shutting him down as much as possible. Now, you're not going to eliminate him because he is just that veteran and that savvy to where he's going to get his 5, 6, 7 catches at bare minimum, and you want to keep him under 100 yards. You hit that 100-yard plateau, that's when he's doing some serious damage to you, and you don't want that moving forward. And him being open and him doing that to us would allow Other receivers, Christian Kirk comes to mind. Speed guy, he's got good size. They'll use him, and then he caught that 2-point conversion that tied the game at the end of the fourth quarter. And they'll give him the ball on a running play. He had a rush for 12 yards in this past game as well. So he's gonna present problems. The rookie Keyshawn Johnson, he caught some balls. He had 10 total targets. So you're looking at between Larry Fitzgerald, Keyshawn Johnson, and Christian Kirk, you have 25 total targets out of Kyler Murray's attempts went to those 3 receivers alone.
Right.
So you're talking about a lot of volume to those 3 guys. So that's the top pass catchers we have to really worry about outside of David Johnson. And any one of them could get loose and cause some problems, but Larry Fitzgerald is definitely number 1 on that list.
Well, and the thing about Larry Fitzgerald, he's going to help these young receivers, Keyshawn Johnson and Christian Kirk of the world, because, what better influence for a young receiving core than a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, who's got, 15, 16 years in the league, something like that.
Yes.
And, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. He can teach them not only how to be a professional and how to run a route tree and how to get open, but just how to carry yourself. And that, again, that goes back to professionalism.
Yep.
This is a perfect mentor for a young receiving core that's trying to build around a young quarterback and an all-pro running back.
Exactly. They've got everything they need to try to establish something very good there. Whether or not this offense they run is going to be sustainable in the long term, I have my doubts about it. It kind of harkens back to the old Jerry Glanville run and shoot days in Atlanta, and I have my questions and concerns, but if they make it work, they've got the pieces in place. They've got the quarterback they want. They've got a veteran wide receiver who's one of the greatest of all time to ever do it, to teach their young receivers exactly how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do offensively moving forward, even past this game coming up this weekend.
Well, and then you look on the defensive side of the ball. Another guy who's an ageless wonder, 36, 37-year-old Terrell Suggs.
Yes.
He goes out there and has 2 sacks last week. And then you have Chandler Jones who had a sack.
On the other side, yes.
They're missing their best defensive player, Patrick Peterson. 6 games suspended for violating the league's policy on performance-enhancing drugs.
Yep.
Kind of disheartening for the Patrick Peterson fans of the world. I was a big fan. I thought he was the best corner in the league, but then you find out he's doing PEDs. Now, a PED could be something as ridiculous as a pre-workout. We don't know they never told us what he was taking.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But that's a big blow for their defense. Matthew Stafford went off against them. Now, Matthew Stafford's a guy who, he one time had a 2-year stretch where he threw for 10,000 yards and 61 touchdowns.
Exactly.
He's a gunslinger. The guy throws the ball all over the field, but they didn't really do much. They only had, I think, 3 passes defensed and no interceptions against Stafford, and that's a guy who's going to throw the ball 50 times a game.
Exactly.
So what are the Ravens looking at from the defensive side of the ball from the Cardinals?
So your biggest concerns literally are Suggs and Chandler Jones coming off the edges. You're looking at 2 guys that accounted for 3 sacks. Suggs had a forced fumble. He had 3 tackles for loss. He had a couple more quarterback hits. We saw this. We saw this for 16 seasons here. Especially early in the season, the last few years. He's going to be a problem. He's going to create havoc. And especially coming back to Baltimore, he's going to want to show out. Chandler Jones, because he's been in Arizona in the last few years, nobody thinks about him anymore, but he is very dangerous. He's going to be a problem coming off. I hope Zeus Jr. is up for the task, because he is going to be an issue coming around that edge, which is when I'm forced Lamar to, I think, move just a little bit more than he had to against Miami. They have another young guy, Zach Allen, who pushes the pocket really well up the middle. He 3 quarterback hits himself last week. So their defense is based off of getting that pressure on that quarterback. And they've got 3 guys, especially last week, showed that they have that ability. Now, their back end is a little soft. They're missing Patrick Peterson, as you stated. Their other corners are average, maybe above average. Then I do have 2 very veteran back-end players and safeties in Budda Baker and DJ Swearinger, who can both do a little bit of covering. They both hit. They both come up and stop the run very, very well. So figuring out the secondary is going to be a little more challenging, but I think we're up to the task at hand to really pick them apart where we need to pick them apart, and I think that's right in the middle of the field.
Well, certainly sounds like good stuff. Ravens are 13-point favorites at home. First home game, coming off that big win last week, a dominating performance. I anticipate more of the same. this weekend. I don't think they're going to win 59-10, but I don't think this game's going to be particularly close. If the Ravens play their game the way they did. Now, look, Ravens dominated time of possession last week. They had a 40 to 20 minutes time of possession. They won the turnover battle. They forced 3 turnovers, had no turnovers on offense. Yeah. So they played almost a perfect game. Coming into this week, are they going to play that way again? Probably not.
Yeah.
But if they can get 75-80% of the same effort from last week, it's going to be a game that's not going to be close.
Nope, shouldn't be.
Right.
Shouldn't be.
So, Cardinals, up-and-coming team, but still very young, raw, very green. Expect the Ravens to get a big win here, but we have seen the Ravens with fast starts in the past. You know, they went 3-0, 2-0, won 47-3, and then had letdowns.
Yep.
2 of those years, they didn't make the playoffs. Last year, they lost to a 6-win Bengals team. Yep. So, Ravens off to another fast start this year. Hopefully, they can do something a little bit different and keep that momentum moving forward later into the season. Great stuff about the Cardinals and the Ravens game. Now let's move on to the playoff push, where we're going to talk about the AFC North opponents that the Ravens have this year. Last week, the big game, Browns-Titans. Browns, all that talk in the offseason. Greedy Williams he's a third round pick. I think he was second round pick of the Browns, and he says, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Cool your jets. Cool your jets.
Pump the brakes, people.
They have their home game to open the year against the Titans, and they get shellacked, 43-13. Baker Mayfield throws 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. Then they have 18 penalties for 182 yards. Very undisciplined football from that team.
Yes.
You look at their wide receiving core. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., combined for 11 catches, 137 yards, no touchdowns. You're expecting those numbers out of one of them, and they combine for that. Now, that's nothing to sneeze at, but these are one guy who catches over 100 yards 100 balls a year, another guy who's considered one of the top 2 or 3 wide receivers in the game right now.
Yes.
So, kind of a letdown.
It's a big letdown, which brought a big smile to my face seeing that score as it kept scrolling across the bottom of that screen watching the Ravens game. I don't know if I was more happy for the Ravens game or if I was more happy to see the Browns get beat down like they did. I mean,
it was pretty equal, I think.
It was an utter embarrassment. I mean, you literally got embarrassed on your home field with all these aspirations for playoffs and the talk of Super Bowl and what can we do and what are we capable of and we're dangerous. And Baker Mayfield, is he going to wake up? He started out like he woke up dangerous, led the team right down the field. The scoring touchdown drive looked really good, and then. Boy, did the tides turn quick on them, and they got embarrassed. And it was a pure beatdown from that point on to the end of the game for the Titans. I mean, they what I've said all along, everybody's getting tired of hearing talk about the Browns. And the Titans, Delaney Walker in his post-game presser literally said it. We are who we thought they are.
Right.
And y'all want to crown them, go ahead. It literally let you know that every other locker room in the NFL is tired of hearing about how great the Browns are going to be. And this is the expectation. This is their reality moving forward. Mm-hmm. After the offseason they just had and all the chirping and talking that certain players have done, you're going to get A-plus effort every single time you step on that field this year. And I don't know that they're ready for it.
You play a team that has no dogs in that fight. Right, the Tennessee Titans, and you gave them a dog in the fight by crowning yourselves paper champions before the season ever even started. But guess what, Cleveland? You have to play the games. They're not just going to hand them to you, and you have 53 men on every other team that's all trying to win a Super Bowl too. And in week 1, you're not going to tell them they don't have a shot. So, Browns completely embarrassed. They're taking on the Jets on Monday Night Football. Probably a win. Because Josh Allen got mono. Demaryius Thomas.
Sam Darnold got mono.
Well, no, they said it was Demaryius Thomas. I thought it was carrying mono, and he came over from the Patriots.
They said Demaryius Thomas was possibly carrying it. He gave it to Sam Darnold this past week. how, as a Jets fan, you must be obliterated with despair to sit there and say, well, what else can go wrong for my team? Oh, I know. Your starting quarterback, who's your future, your franchise, he's going to get mono. And you're expected to do something pretty decent this year. Now where are you sitting at?
Right. So it's Josh Allen as the quarterback for the Jets, right?
No, it's gonna Josh Allen is the Buffalo Bills starting quarterback. So you're looking at Trevor Siemian is going to be the backup for the Jets starting Monday night. Now, decent backup. You know, he's done some things in this league. Le'Veon Bell, shoulder MRI, came back clean. Sounds like he's going to be ready to go. That gives him a little bit of hope. But the Browns going to the Jets, tell you what, the Browns better do something with this game, because if they lose this one, it's going to start getting real tight real fast in Cleveland.
Le'Veon Bell has a shoulder issue, right? He just got an MRI the other day. I don't know what the results were of that, but he's questionable for this game. So
as far as I saw, it came back clean. Might have been just some random soreness. He says he's good to go. We'll see what happens come Monday. He does get that extra day, so that should help him.
That's true. And a little embarrassing for me. I was looking at the stats and all that. I kept seeing Josh Allen because the Jets played the Bills, and it got in my head Josh Allen. So no, you're right, Sam Darnold. My apologies, everybody. That won't happen again. But yeah, this should be a win for the Browns on Monday night.
Yes.
But you were thinking, I'm sure they thought it should have been a win against Tennessee on Sunday.
They did. And
so,
they got shut up pretty hard on Monday. Literally embarrassed. I mean, you play like that at home in your home opener and you get shellacked like they did. It should send a message to everybody. Now, you get a backup quarterback who, albeit has done some things in the league, not the greatest thing in the world, but that's why he's a backup. The Jets might be without CJ Mosley. He might not be making it, so that's another plus to the side for the Browns. We'll see what happens. The Browns should win. I expect them to win, but stranger things have happened in this league before, and I'll be sitting there with a glass in my hand, rooting for the Jets hard Monday night.
Rooting for them hard. We'll see how it goes. You go to another game, and we're going to talk about the Bengals and the Seahawks. Bengals, a kicker missed a 45-yard field goal, ended up being the difference in the game. They lost that game to the Seahawks 21-20.
Yes.
They dominated the Seahawks in every facet of the game, but they lost the turnover battle 3-0.
Yep, that's what that'll kill you every time. You lose a turnover battle, and it's hard to come back from that. You give the other team short fields. As good as you played, I mean, Andy Dalton was on fire. 35 of 51 for over 400 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Joe Ross. Anybody remember who Joe Ross is? It took until this first week for him to finally do something. 7 receptions, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. Over 22 yards on average per catch. I mean, he showed out. He showed why he was a first-round pick for the Bengals. But forced mistakes. Andy Dalton didn't. I mean, he really did it to him. And he did everything he could. He didn't make the big boneheaded interception. But then what happens? 3 fumbles lost.
Right.
Ball security, got to hold on to the football, and they really cost themselves a good start to a season by dropping that heartbreaker in Seattle, who I think was a little taken aback and shocked by how well the Bengals came out and played.
Well, the Bengals outgained them 2-1.
Yes, it wasn't even close.
They held the ball longer than the Seahawks. They had more passing yards, more rushing yards.
Yep.
And it just not more rushing yards. They did not. They had 14 carries.
Neither team rushed the ball very well.
But the Bengals went out there and they played their game, and they came up short because they're not expected to be a good football team, right? And bad football teams, what do? They find ways to lose football games, and that's what they did. Like you said, 3 fumbles lost, and that gave, when you have veterans like Russell Wilson, you give him the ball 3 times. When you have it, he's going to find a way to beat you. And sure enough, he did. I mean, he threw for less than 200 yards. But he had 2 touchdowns. The number 1 rushing offense in the NFL last year rushed for just 72 yards, and they managed to get a win. Bengals, this game was handed to you on a silver platter, and you blew it.
You should have had it. You hold Chris Carson to 15 carries for 46 yards. I mean, you've got to make headway with this. And they had a golden opportunity to really make a move, and they kind of essed the bet on themselves a little bit with that. But they've got a chance to make amends for it this coming week against the 49ers, who were a win, but not very impressive, in my opinion, going forward with that one.
Yeah, another game where Jimmy Garoppolo was underwhelming. 166 yards passing.
Very average.
Touchdown and interception. Now in his career, he's got a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, but with the 49ers, 13 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Yes.
They don't protect him. He was getting hit all game on Sunday.
Yep.
And this is a guy coming off an ACL injury where, he was running for his life again. Instead of, going out of bounds, he tried to get that extra yards, and then it got hit on the sideline.
Yep.
Tears his ACL, out for the year. He's back. Didn't have a great training camp from what we've heard. At one point they said in a practice he threw 5 interceptions on 5 consecutive passes. So the Niners are trying to see what they have in Garoppolo. Is this a franchise quarterback, or is this somebody who's just going to be a placeholder for somebody you're going to end up drafting? It's only one game, but time will tell. They didn't play great, but their defense played great.
Their defense showed out. They really took it to the Bucs. Now playing against Jameis Winston, who is known for just obliterating himself and his team with throwing interception after interception after interception. He had 3 of them, and he also forced a fumble against the Bucs. So
and 2 of those picks got returned for touchdowns.
You're talking about a defense that really gave the Niners everything they needed to win that game. They did lose. The Niners lost Tevin Coleman. He's out. They lost him for an extended period of time. George Kittle was George Kittle, but a little less than what you would hope for. 8 receptions, but only 54 yards.
Right.
So, he's definitely capable of much more than that. We saw that last year. The Bengals defense, they did their job to an extent, but giving up, 3 turnovers. They played a little tired maybe towards the end, which is when the Seahawks made their move. So you're looking at some pretty evenly matched teams here, in my opinion. It could get real interesting. It is the Bengals at home, so, we'll see how they operate against the 49ers moving forward.
This game's going to come down to who's the better quarterback. Andy Dalton has been known to throw his share of interceptions,
Yes.
been known to have his share of boneheaded plays on the field. So what we're going to see there is a battle of 2 quarterbacks. One guy who's already a franchise quarterback, but how much longer are you going to trust him? Another guy still trying to find his place in the NFL. It should be a good game considering they're pretty evenly matched teams. A game that we can really look forward to watching.
Looking forward to that one.
So moving on, the last team that we're going to talk about, the hated Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, in Baltimore, this is one of those things where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You're watching that game on Sunday night, and it's the Steelers, so you hate them, but they're playing the Patriots, who you hate. Patriots busted them up, 33-3. Tom Brady, 346 passing yards, 3 touchdowns at 42 years old. The Steelers got nothing going on offense. Roethlisberger had 276 yards passing, but a lot of that was in garbage time, just trying to get into the end zone at the end of the game, which he never did.
Nope.
And this was also on over 50 passing attempts. If you tell me that Ben Roethlisberger is throwing the ball 50 times, he's got 400 or 500 yards and a few touchdowns, right?
Exactly. That's what maybe a couple of interceptions in there, but you're looking at least 350 from him if he's throwing the ball that many times. But it was ugly.
Yeah.
It was. I turned in expecting a really good game. I thought the Steelers are going to be extremely dangerous this year. Now I still think they can be. It is against the Patriots, and the Patriots are without a doubt, the class of the AFC and have been for a long time now. But the Steelers really gave us. James Conner only 10 carries for 21 yards. They pretty much abandoned the run.
Right.
They stopped even trying to run the ball. And that's what the Steelers are made off of is, run the ball. I know you got Big Ben who likes to throw the ball over the field, but you got to run the ball still. And their defense. What happened to the Steelers' defense? They can't rush the pass. They damn sure can't stop the pass. What can they do right now? It looked that bad on Sunday.
Well, yeah, they only sacked Brady one time. They only hit him 5 times. Now look, the Patriots do a lot to protect their quarterback.
Oh, yes.
He's their big ticket. Without Tom Brady, the one year that he didn't play, they missed the playoffs, even though they still won 11 games with Matt Castle.
Yes.
But you look at that team, they're going to have schemes and lines that are designed to protect Tom Brady and give him the most time to throw the ball. But the Steelers, they're all about a pass rush and about defense. That's what their team is made on.
Yep.
And they couldn't do anything on either side of the ball. It wasn't even a game. It never was.
It looked lost.
Yeah.
They looked like they were completely unprepared to see what they saw. You're talking about a Patriots team. It's pretty much the same team that they've had, basically. And Josh Gordon came back, and that gives them a little bit of a boost. No Gronkowski, so They didn't even throw the ball to the tight ends. I think one pass or two passes went to tight ends all night, Sunday night. When do you ever see the Patriots do that?
Right, when they have tight ends, which they don't right now. Ben Watson suspended 4 games, but he'll be back.
You got to take advantage of this and know what you get. And the Steelers are just a bad matchup for the Patriots. They just can't seem to get out of their own way. I mean, they can't. No matter how good they are, whatever year it is, they go to play the Patriots. Guess what? Count an L, because that's what's going to happen. And I didn't expect this. But that's exactly what they got. And now they got the Seattle Seahawks coming into town. You know, that West Coast team coming out to play a 1 o'clock, East Coast game. 10 a.m. start for them on their clocks. And their internal clock, doesn't always bode well for a West Coast team. Now,
West Coast teams historically don't do well traveling.
Now, Seahawks themselves, the last 2 years, and I checked this, the last 2 years, they have not played an East Coast 1 o'clock game.
Really?
The last 2 seasons, the last season they went 1-1 in 2016, playing an East Coast 1 o'clock start, which is a 10 a.m. start for them in their internal clock. So, be interesting to see how they assimilate themselves and come out and play the Steelers at Pittsburgh. Seahawks are very dangerous if they can get their running game going. They have an opportunity to steal one in Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh's going to be mighty pissed. And they're going to come out with their hair on fire, and I fully expect them to do some serious damage. So this might be one of the best games of the entire slate coming up this weekend.
And I'm looking at Seattle to try and establish that run game because that's their bread and butter. Like we mentioned, they led the NFL in rushing attempts and rushing yards last year. Russell Wilson, a very mobile quarterback.
Yes.
You look at having Chris Carson and then Rashard Penny after that, and then Russell Wilson, who's kind of like a little bit a slower Lamar Jackson, but he's a guy who can stay in the pocket and make the throws down the field. But if he has to, he can run and he can get you some yardage.
He'll be very dangerous. He's very smart when he gets out of the pocket, always looking to pass, and he'll go get his 7 yards. He ain't going to try to get 11. He'll go get his 7 and say, okay, that's good enough.
He was a baseball player too, so he knows how to slide.
Yes.
So
it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Is Juju going to come of age? He's been used to having Antonio Brown on the other side of the field taking those double teams. Now he's the one getting those double teams, so that means you have to buck up, young boy, and really put your big boy pants on it and get ready for it because it's coming all season. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens in this game. I really expect a close game. It might be a little ugly, but I expect a close game.
Well, all I know is that the Ravens are potentially looking at 2-0, but I don't think that you're going to have the rest of the division lose all their games this week. So, if you want to stay out in front of the rest of the division, go take care of business because Browns probably aren't going to lose, and the Steelers are going to come out with something to prove against the Seahawks this week after that embarrassment on Sunday Night Football.
Exactly.
3 good games potentially this week. We'll see how it goes. That's going to do it for us here on the Football Frenzy.
Oh, you didn't give your prediction for this week.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, come on.
First
we got to
show.
give a prediction. We got to give a prediction, buddy.
First show. All right. I'm going to let you give your prediction first.
Okay.
You're ready for it. Give your prediction
So coming
first.
up for this week, the Cardinals coming into Baltimore. It's going to be entertaining. I expect the Cardinals to do a little bit of damage here or there on offense. I don't expect them to be held to 10 points. The Ravens offense, I don't see 59 again, but I see a slightly different offense this week. I see more of a running game coming out. I want to see them pound the Arizona Cardinals. I want to see them make them hurt coming into the second half of the game. I'm looking at around 35-17.
35-17. That's a good guess. I was thinking about 17 for the Cardinals myself. I think the Ravens are going to run the ball more this week than they did. Now it's tough to say that for a team that rushed for 265 yards last week.
Yes.
But they didn't put the emphasis on the run. I think Lamar will run the ball more this week. I think that you're going to see all 3 running backs get fairly heavy workloads this week. I think Justin Tucker's going to play a bigger role.
Yes.
But I'm gonna go ahead and say 30-17. I think they're going to score 3 offensive touchdowns. I think the defense is going to come up huge, maybe get a pick late. It's going to be closer than we expect because I think that Kyler Murray has some confidence moving forward after the fourth quarter and overtime performance last week. 30-17. Wouldn't be surprised to see it a little bit more lopsided, but that's my guess for right now, 30-17.
Sounds good to me. A win is a win in my book.
Win is a win, especially when you got the Chiefs coming up next week.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, they're coming into a tough stretch. They got the first 2 games. It should be easy games, and then they have the Chiefs, the Browns, and the Steelers. Yep. So tough sledding after this week. Ravens need to do their part and get a win. Hopefully go to 2-0. Hopefully when we're talking to you next week, we're talking about a win and a big show down in Kansas City. Till then, this has been the Football Frenzy. I'm Paul Valley, Adam Rothgev. Thanks for doing the show with me today.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Tune in next week. We'll talk more Ravens football. Take it easy, guys.